So the question is, how long before the Titanic sink?
Yeah, that's what we're all watching right now. And it feels like one person wrote in the comments that Donald Trump is sending us into the iceberg, and then he just lit the lifeboats on fire. And we're all watching the lifeboats
No,
going.
no, not fire. They just put the holes every
Oh,
lifeboat.
the pole. Well, you can make the case that they're putting the holes in the lifeboats, lighting them on fire, and throwing them over the board, right? They're all like, great, what do we do now? So the reason why I'm using this sort of metaphor in language is because every time I check on the news to give you guys an update, it keeps getting worse. It's like, how could it possibly get more worse? So here's the news today. What's going on with the FBI?
FBI, they just do the
we call it polygraph.
Yeah, polygraph. Check each other.
Yeah, so they're like basically giving each other lie detector tests. They're worried that there are too many people leaking, and it just creates like this really bad culture over there. Could you imagine your boss is like, you got to take a lie detector?
I imagine that now they have a kind of two team who's following the Trump and who's not, So they're kind of against each other.
Well, remember, this is a reality TV show, right? So it's like the red team versus the blue team. And right now they're kind of like all going to various meeting rooms, going like, oh, I'm gonna cheat on this person. Oh, I've been spying on this person. You guys watch reality TV shows, right? You know how they do that. That's literally what this is. And it's and I want to make this clear too. So the polygraph test isn't really a lie detector test. Just we call it that because that's the way they use it in the movies. And but plus,
plus I think they all kind of trained how to pass that test.
Well, certainly people do train, so it is a possibility. So if you guys don't know, the polygraph really is more of a stress detector, right? Your heart rate, your breathing. They want to see basically if you're stressed out. But in this environment, when your boss is like, Bondi or Patel or Hegseth, when they're threatening to give you, a polygraph, I'd be pretty stressed out if you're further trained, right? It's hard not to be. And then you see that they're sending people to El Salvador. It's like, how do you feel? So from the inside, people are describing this as being a toxic environment.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have already quit. And then other people are either... It's like, and this is the choice.
I assume that those people are good people who doesn't want to follow, like wrong order.
Sure. But that's what I say, that this is a dilemma because, yes, it's true. Don't follow legal order. Just get out, right? Don't be associated with these people. But then the other respect, I have to mention this every single time, is that there's so many people out there that are patriots. They serve the country. It doesn't matter who's president. They're going to usually stay in their position, and they have this like, the phrases they're using are like witch hunt over at the FBI, basically just accusing people of doing whatever. It's just a horrible situation. Now, to be fair, when you would be really concerned about this stuff is anyone like leaking out secret or classified information?
Yeah, to Trump and Elon.
No. Okay. Wow. Okay. Could that could be
Casey, right?
No. Okay. So in that situation, for example, there was an issue before where it leaked out that Musk had a meeting at the Pentagon for like secret war plans against China. Okay. So one could make the case that that's kind of classified information, but then the other person could make the case that why is Musk, who's got these massive, we could call it conflict of interest, why is he taking meetings on like sensitive material that we don't even know Musk's security clearance? There's like a whole bunch of problems with this, right? So like, if you guys understand what I'm saying, like are we leaking classified material or not, for example? But then you have Hegseth, who's he's the drunk guy.
Yeah.
He did that Signal chat, invited the reporter, and then he did another Signal chat, and he had like his brother and his wife and old friends in this thing. And that really was more sensitive information. It was military war plans, right? And then now you have the FBI giving people polygraphs. It's really hard to discuss these topics because you have to understand how nuts this stuff is. And there's a lot of people who work in the government that are just like kind of not sure who to trust. That's a good way to say it. And another way they've described it as well is there's a lot of people who kind of want to advance their career. So, and I don't mean in a good way. So like, for example, hey, if you tell on your friends, turn in your friends, that kind of stuff, then we'll advance you. There's that kind of environment is not a good situation. I keep telling you, AJ, it reminds me of what happened in here in Korea, like I don't know, it'd be like 40 years ago already, like Chunduhwan, stuff like that. If you want to talk about Germany in the past as well, or Soviet Union, those kind of places. It's that kind of environment. Another situation. So the Justice Department, lawyers are quitting.
How many?
It's a lot. So I think there's like 380 total Department of Justice lawyers. Okay, so we heard before that 100 were gonna leave, and then the last time they just did like a podcast because that's like this is a reality TV show, and the head over there, I guess Justice Department was saying like half the people are gonna leave.
Half?
It's like really a lot. We don't know the exact number because
like
it's really a lot.
A few weeks ago, a bunch of lawyers from New York quit, right?
Right, and those were top lawyers too.
Yeah.
And then it got announced again that even more left. And watch this kind of stuff, guys, because lawyers know the law. That's their job. They know the law. So they know if they're going to be involved with something that just illegal, unethical, immoral, these kind of things. But like I said before, there are some people who are I'm just in it for my career, and I'll just follow Trump forever. But it's
whoever gives me money doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah. So some lawyers are like that. Whoever gives them money, that they're a hired gun. Everyone has a different point of view on this. So basically, what's going on is they're reorganizing the Office of Civil Rights. So civil rights has a long historical importance in USA. Just some simple examples that I always talk about in class of when white kids and black kids are separate schools, it's inherently unfair and damaging to society, or when people have separate bathrooms kind of thing. Or if you want to talk about the Disabled People Act, where stores, if you have a wheelchair, that's hard to get into a store, an apartment. Like these are the kind of issues that people have legal rights to say, hey, I deserve to be equal as everyone else, right? So what Trump is doing basically is they're removing people from any kind of what would be traditionally civil rights, and then putting them on what Trump people consider important. So there's three issues. One is they're really concerned about transgender people in women's sports, as if there's like this massive amount of people.
Sounds like everyday issue, right?
I mean, there's probably 10 people in the country or something.
Yeah.
It's going to be a handful. There's not that many transgender people, gender people out there, let alone ones who want to play in women's sports. And if you want to talk about that issue all day, you can. I'm sure there's channels for that. But I'm saying they're moving people away from what I consider, it's a sensitive topic, right? We'll just say this. There'll be a lot more cases in other situations. Like I'll give you examples. So we have a historical thing in the USA where banks wouldn't give certain people loans, which is a big deal to buy a house, right?
Yeah.
And so then you would sue and say basically, hey, I think this bank is discriminating against a group of people or something like that, like these kind of stuff. So they're, the Trump people want to focus on transgender people going into women's sports, right? And I'll let the courts decide that stuff, but it's just not on my mind every day. Another one they're going with is they think there's all these people out there who are anti-Christian, like the Trump and Fox. They always say there's this big war on Christmas. No, seriously, yeah, I know. They act like that all these people want to make Christmas illegal and stuff. And it's just like, I know. It's like, what are you talking about? It's like this massive holiday in USA. There's like Christian churches freaking everywhere in USA, and they have this weird thing, and it's this weird fantasy world. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other one I want to go to, they keep going with is they call it anti-Semitism. So they're saying there's anti-Jewish sentiment around the country and stuff like that. And so that's the three issues that they're focusing on.
Yeah, even they anti-Harvard right now.
Right, because they make the case that Harvard is anti-sentiment. Basically, they make the case. If you've ever been in any of these places, I'll just say this, guys. I went to Penn, I went to Brown. There are many buildings that have Jewish people's names on the buildings.
Yeah.
So this idea that the university would be against those kind of people who are giving them money because their name is on the building, it's so ridiculous. It's so ludicrous. And the percentage of that kind of group of people is actually quite high. And I even had Jewish roommates when I was in college. So, you can't accuse me of anything. Like, my roommates are, but that's a whole other issue. It's just like, I don't like to touch this because it's like just a nonsensical stuff. And unfortunately, though, people are getting charged with this kind of stuff. I mean, because basically there's a large portion of us out there that just don't want any violence, no matter who it is. But they act like if you say that there's anything bad happening in Gaza, then therefore you must hate a certain group of people. But it's just like
they kick out you.
well, they'll arrest you, take you to another state. It's actually really quite serious. And then they're moving lawyers around again at the Department of Justice. And then we got another crazy issue.
Another?
Yeah, there's more. So for me, I like to focus on the money stuff. I think that's really the key. Follow the money. So Trump's been floating this idea that we're going to get rid of income tax. So no more tax if you supposedly make under $200,000 a year. That's the concept.
So how they can get money? You know, they need tax for running the whole country, city.
Right. So there's two ways to think about it. One is, well, let's just get rid of the government. That would be one. You know, I'm not saying that's a good idea, but you know, because who needs Social Security? Who needs Medicare? Who needs roads? Who needs schools? Who needs Department of Education? Like this, who needs health department? Let's just cut as much as you. So that'd be one way. Because I'm not saying it's good.
Anarchist?
It feels like we're going that way. But or the other way you say it is they want to make everything private. No longer government, but everything private. So that's I think that's
only rich to survive.
Yeah, and then they want must have all jobs are robots, that kind of stuff. And then the idea is he's saying the way we fund everything is through the tariffs.
But tariff is you're paying it.
Well, you're paying income tax too.
Yeah,
they're both taxes.
Yeah, how much is income tax?
So yeah, I know, yeah. So no, but just talk about the total number.
Yeah.
So the estimates, at least this is coming from the Wall Street Journal, they said, okay, if we do the tariff plan the way that Trump's doing it now, and it changes every day, so it's not consistent.
Yeah.
Like who knows what it's going to be? It'll be 179 billion a year. Okay. The income tax, if you just keep the system the way it is, it's like 600 billion a year for people under 200,000. So basically 3 times more. So you're going to be short like $400 billion if you go to that other system. So you're going to be short money. That's why they're cutting stuff. And then the other big problem is that under the system that Trump's are really pushing for, they just basically want to eliminate tax in general and then only do the tariff thing. But that really punishes the poorest people the most.
Yeah.
Because, for example, for wealthy people, they're like, you know what? Why do you tax me on my stocks? Like I don't want to get taxed on my stocks, right? Like you understand, like, so for people at lower income scale, they don't have stocks, so that doesn't necessarily affect them. But and then they try to make the case that, oh, but it's fair if we all pay sales tax, basically like tariffs like a sales tax, or they'll try to get rid of property taxes, that kind of stuff. In Florida, I think they already have it where they don't have property taxes. It's kind of weird. Like, how does that make sense? Because property taxes fund schools. There's a lot of old people that don't want to pay for schools because they don't have kids anymore, right? I mean, their kids are older. There's a lot of issues, and it's a lot of the problem right now in USA is this kind of culture of greed would be one, and then the other problem would be, and we had this in the 80s, would be like we say individualism, like we're just all about me. We called it the me generation.
But me is fine, but it's me hurting other people. That's the problem.
Well, no, but me. Okay, here's me hurting other people. But think about it this way: it's like if I have the total American mindset of me, I drive the biggest SUV possible. I use as much gas as I possibly can. I turn on my air conditioning all day, every day. I double park, right? Like I don't like I park in 3 parking spots with my Cybertruck because I care about me and my car. Like I'm not willing to share, and that kind of mentality is kind of the Trumpy kind of world, and what's ridiculous about it is his followers don't realize that Trump is out to help Trump, right? He's in it for me, for Trump, and they all act like Trump's out to help him, and it's like, and they won't watch my video because they won't understand these numbers anyway. Which is I'm a little bit mean, but it's frustrating because I try to just talk to like regular people, like, hey, education's a good thing, guys, and hey, having
make money is better.
Yeah, right. Make money for Trump, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So that's where we are. Polygraph test for the FBI, trying to get rid of the income tax, and lawyers are quitting Trump en masse, like half of them possibly. It's just pure chaos, and I'm hoping for midterms to come sooner. I mean, to have the next election. So thank you for watching, everyone. Want to hear your thoughts on this, and I'll catch you all in the next video. So bye.